So what does femininity and masculinity mean to you, and what has shaped your perception of it?
Well, femininity and masculinity, I believe, are two human constructs that were kind of made up to help shape one's identity.
Well, femininity and masculinity is like the emphasis on different sexes, like how sexes are supposed to interact with each other. And what would define masculinity, for example, I would say physical attributes like wide shoulders, beard, maybe.
To be a woman, it means to be first of all a lady who takes care of herself, who's trying to look good for men, who also takes care of the house first of all, and women has to be like mother.
Definitely culture and society, and also the media.
From the clothes you wear to the toys that you play with, I think that you are molded into fitting societal norms. And I also think that as a gay man, that the gay community has shaped my idea of what it means to be a man, and in some ways has liberated me from the heteronormative expectations in a lot of ways.
Depending on your race or where you come from, they're very different, but to me, femininity is all about strength just as in masculinity, and I think that's really it for me. It's strength for both.
Well, I try to emphasize my artistic touch, creative side, and sometimes I do try to, accentuate my physique as much as I can, just to feel better as a man.
I would say muscles, maybe grow a beard.
To connote my femininity, I'm always trying to look first of all as a girl. I mean, like wearing skirts, dresses, nice blouses.
Mainly, what I do to show my femininity is in how I present myself, based on like how I dress or how I look, and also how I act. Usually more reserved.
I guess if I was trying to like impress a guy I was interested in, I would accentuate like the curves of my body, because men are drawn to, like biologically speaking, men are drawn to like birthing hips or just things that connote a woman that is fertile and can give them a lot of children, biologically speaking. So maybe unconsciously that's what I go to. Also, that's what like magazines tell you to do. If you have like a curvy body, show it off.
It changed when I first saw I think it was 2009 Eurovision, where this man-woman called Conchita Wurst won the competition, and I tend to ask myself, like, are genres supposed to be defined in very like very concrete way, or can't we see a mix? Do we have to categorize sexes and genres?
Yeah, I'll remember when I was in high school, when it was like teenager time, I was wearing jeans and sneakers all the time, and my mom was like, you should wear more dresses because you're a girl, so you have to look like one.
It gradually became like that. Like, it's like I was born a girl, and then I was raised as a girl, and it just grew into that.
When I was 13, I remember just I'd never really cared that much about my appearance, and when I was 13, I felt like I needed to become more feminine, basically because of my peer group, and also my older sibling or sisters telling me like oh, you need to take care of yourself, you need to fix your hair and everything. And so I felt like that was the point when it really I changed myself because of those expected roles of femininity.
I think the one time that it really changed for me was when I was 16 and in high school. I showed up dressed in drag for a clone day that we had. And I didn't have a clone, but I thought that it would be hysterical to really push the boundaries, and being comfortable with my masculinity while being dressed in a way that was alternative and rather risque with 6-inch heels. I think that that was the moment that I really felt most myself and most comfortable with my masculinity.
Absolutely. We've been brought up with cartoons with like, I don't know, guys, like boys playing war and having little guns, and you see this in TV shows for kids.
Yeah, sure. Since I moved to Paris, I started watching more Western media, and it changed my perception of women and male behavior in the way that there are kind of more things that they're allowed to do for men, but at the same time, women can do that stuff.
In general, I think it has, or it's trying to, at least, especially with the whole feminism and stuff. It's being broadcasted through media, but for me personally, nothing has changed. Not really.
Yeah, media has definitely played a big role in how I see masculinity and femininity, and particularly with films, I guess, like just what's expected.
Not necessarily my idea of femininity and masculinity, but I do think that it has definitely shaped the way that I think people should act and what is perceived as being appropriate in public for a man and for a woman.
Well, I'm a black woman, and I think that plays a lot into what becomes acceptable, because oftentimes with people of color, men or women, there's an acceptable version of a black woman and an unacceptable version of a black woman. So if I'm around a group of white people that I've never really met before, or like I'm in a professional setting with a lot of white people, the way I act or the way I portray my femininity is very different. And if you ask like a lot of black people, that will be pretty universal across the board. Being a black woman portrayed on TV, the black woman is never the main character. She's always the best friend or the sidekick. She has to act a very certain way, so she has to be very loud and very sassy, very opinionated and very hard-headed, and I think that was what I thought black womanhood was for a very long time. And the media portrays a very specific type of body for black femininity, and not all black women have that body, and it can be very isolating because not only are you very little represented in media generally, but then when you do show up, there's only two types for you to be. You're either like super curvy and like voluptuous, or you're like the big mammy type, which isn't the most flattering thing because it comes with a very stereotypical version of black womanhood.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, when you see, for example, shows like Jersey Shore, where you basically have wild girls showing their tits everywhere, and it kind of puts back into perspective your different views on sexuality. And there's kind of an invasion of pornography in nowadays medias, whether it is ads or movies, or you see way more sex than you used to before, so it kind of liberalized it in this way, yeah.
It liberalized my attitude to female sexuality, but not sex, but because still my culture, it affects me greatly. But yeah, I think that it liberalized in some kind of way that I don't think like I should be ashamed because I have sex with someone before marriage, for example.
It's still not okay. It's still kind of seen in a very vulgar way, but it is more acceptable than how it used to be, and I think media has a lot to do with it. Like when, like for example, Kim Kardashian was really judged when she posted her naked selfie on Instagram, but models do it as well, and I think at this point, I'm more open-minded to it, I guess.
I'd say that popular media has desensitized my attitude towards sex and female sexuality because it's so prevalent. You get used to seeing it, and it's become almost normalized.
I think it has liberalized me a lot. I think if we're talking the most drastic media that has changed me, I would think that it's the discovery of pornography and how one is able to relate to sex.
So I think it's made me more critical, if anything. I can kind of call things out as I see them.